What's going on, everyone? So Trevor Lane over at Lakers Nation sat down with Jovan Buha of The Athletic to talk, Lakers trade front, Russell Westbrook, and a couple other things. It was a great interview. I highly recommend after this video you go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. I'll even link it down in the description below. But I kind of wanted to talk about and go over a few things that Jovan said that I thought were pretty significant. So right off the bat, one of the things he said was the Pacers trade, right? It was the deal that many people still want to see happen. It was a deal that the Lakers almost got done. This appears to be pretty much off the table, which makes sense. I mean, we haven't really heard much about it. He didn't say it was like completely dead, but he said, he sees it being very unlikely with the state of Indiana right now. There's also been talks of Indiana maybe extending Miles Turner. But the thing is that it comes down to what does Miles Turner want? Right? Because the whole reason they wanted to trade Miles Turner was because they didn't think he would re-sign and he wanted to leave. And he's even publicly said, hey, like the Lakers, if I was them, I'd take a good look at me and trade for me. So it comes down to, does Miles Turner want to leave? Does he want to stay? And if he does want to stay, then I think, yeah, the deal's probably dead. If it's kind of like teeter-tottering where it's like he might end up leaving, I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana decides to trade him, whether it's the Lakers or someone else, just to get something from him, because you really want to lose him for nothing. And then in that case, you're either trading him straight up to the Lakers, or you're doing the Beverly Nunn for Miles Turner or Buddy Hield, or you're doing the Russell Westbrook for both guys, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. That is something that still could happen down the line. Or if say the Pacers just go the other way between now and the trade deadline, it's something that could happen. But he also relayed that the Lakers are doing their due diligence, right? The Lakers are actively speaking to several partners. There was even a report yesterday that the Lakers are one of the most active, that the Lakers and the Knicks are the two most active teams on the trade front. But he said that the issue is that the Lakers have to be patient. They have to find the right deal, the right trade. That he doesn't see a big move. That very likely it's going to be like a minor move just to kind of upgrade size. I like the Knicks deal. He referenced and talked about and said that could be a deal that they're looking at, that they're having discussions with the Knicks, and we just keep hearing the Knicks being brought up in a potential Lakers deal for various reasons, and they've talked about 3-team deals. They've talked about, individual deals, Cam Reddish and Evan Fournier, but the Lakers want a first-round pick attached to it, as does every other team. So do the Knicks end up caving at one point and go, okay, fine, let's unload these guys, let's give up a first? There's even talks about maybe adding a Julius Randle and then taking Russ, and then adding a first to that, something along those lines. So the Knicks and Lakers, I imagine, are going to continue to talk. Even Russell Westbrook is favored to land with the New York Knicks right now as his next destination for teams, like through various sportsbook stuff. I even made a video talking about that, which I thought was really interesting. But we'll see what develops. But basically, according to Jovan Buha, the Lakers are actively looking for deals, that they've talked to various teams throughout the league. Some, just hypotheticals, some are real deals. But the problem is teams aren't in a rush right now to make a trade, and that he said it's very likely that it'll be somewhere around weeks, maybe even a month before a deal gets done. He said he could see a deal getting done before the new year, but very likely most of these deals end up happening in January, right? Because right now, teams are still trying to see what they want to do, right? Teams are still trying to figure out, like, are we going to kind of just push our chips to the table and go all in? Or are we going to just hit the reset button and tank? And we're not close enough to like the midway point to where, teams, because you see teams like the Warriors, for example. I'm not saying the Warriors are going to make a trade or anything, but like the Warriors, they're really struggling right now. They're not very healthy right now. But if everyone comes back, everyone's healthy, do they go on like some crazy run? And if they don't and they're out of it, well, do they make a deal? Do they take like James Wiseman and Kuminga, which is being reported that they might end up looking at something like that? Do they try to make a deal to try to bolster their team to try to get back into contention? Chicago, that's something else that Jovan Buha brought up, right? He brought up the whole like, hey, Chicago, they might end up trading DeMar DeRozan at some point. They might say, hey, we need to hit the reset button here, and then the Lakers could be players in that regard. He mentioned that any type of like major deal is very likely going to be a star. Very likely it's going to be Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, and then, whatever other pieces that need to be attached along with like a first or something to go get, a Bojan Bogdanovic or a piece along those lines. But not to expect a deal till maybe sometime in January, maybe even closer to the trade deadline. That the 15th date, Rob Pelinka wants to start making deals, and of course he's trying to make deals, but teams are, one, a little reluctant to make trades, which is understandable, and two, teams know that the Lakers are at a buyer standpoint right now, and teams are like, well, hey, you want to buy right now, it's going to cost you. So teams are trying to charge a premium that they might not charge otherwise come closer to the trade deadline, because teams are like, hey, we don't need to trade these guys right now. But if you want to give us, an unprotected first for a guy that we might get, couple seconds for, or, a heavily protected first, then sure, we'll give you the guy. Kind of like the Bojan trade, right? Detroit isn't in a rush to trade Bojan. Detroit doesn't even really want to trade Bojan. And they're looking at it as like, okay, like you want Bojan. We don't really need to trade him. We don't really want to trade him. We're not in a rush to trade him. We could probably get a protected first round pick at the trade deadline for Bojan. So if you want him now, it's going to cost you an unprotected first and maybe a second or something like that, because the Lakers are going to have to pay a premium to get the guy early, right? It's just like, early rights. You want him early, well, supply and demand, right? Like, he's going to be a guy that teams are going to be looking at for the next, month or whatever. He also highlighted the Russell Westbrook thing, and, how the Lakers are unlikely to trade Russell Westbrook. And it's kind of the reason that I've been, saying that Russ is still, like, his value hasn't changed to anybody but the Lakers, right? All the deals and all the trades for Russell Westbrook are all still the same deals and trades, and teams still want assets to take on Russell Westbrook, because there aren't any teams that see Russell Westbrook and go, man, at $47 million, he would be great off the bench. There are like, if he was, 15, 20 million, there'd probably be, a plethora of teams lined up to try to trade for Russell Westbrook, because what he's been able to do off the bench, as well as that type of contract, is a lot more reasonable than $47 million, because teams that are a contender that might see Russ as like a real key piece off the bench, they would have to trade almost their entire roster to go get Russell Westbrook, and it doesn't make sense. So the only teams that really could get involved are like the San Antonio Spurs, the Knicks, things like that. But the Lakers would be taking on long-term salary or having to give up picks and stuff. And Jovan said he's not, like, the Lakers aren't completely against taking on long-term salary, but it has to be the right moves. It has to be the right players, the right combination, or just the right deal. So again, maybe if the Knicks would do Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, and Cam Reddish and include a first-round pick, maybe the Lakers would take on that salary. Maybe the Lakers could then look to trade Julius Randle, because you basically got Julius Randle for free. So maybe you could go and trade him to get whatever, or maybe get some other pieces that might fit better, or maybe take, another, like, well, we got a long-term deal, you got a long-term deal, we'll just swap your deals. Let's just swap our deals here, because maybe they like, Julius Randle more than whatever, maybe a team like Miami, right? Maybe you could go and take a flyer on like a player or two and give them Julius Randle or something, try to work some deal out. I'm just, like I said, just spitballing here, names and ideas. But for the Lakers, Russell Westbrook is a positive value, right? He's actually giving production off the bench. He's been pretty solid. He's had good games and bad games, but overall, he's much improved from what he was last season. So the Lakers aren't in some rush or some urgency to trade him. Also, he said that he'd be pretty surprised if Russell Westbrook returns next season. That both sides very likely wouldn't want to. And, if at the right price, sure, the Lakers would be willing to do it. But, is Russ going to take, 6 to 8 million a year when he could probably get 10 to 15 million on the open market? A team would give him, basically what I was saying is I could see a team giving him like 6-man money, right? He could get somewhere between like 15 to 18 million range is very likely. And if he gets that offer and the Lakers are only offering like, say, 8 or 10, he's probably going to go take the money. He's probably going to go elsewhere. So that is likely done with the Russell Westbrook deal. He's likely going to be here through the trade deadline, and then he'll fall off the books next year. Problem is that if that's true and you're the Lakers, don't you almost have to trade him if you're planning on taking? So let's say the Lakers make a deal, right? Let's say they take Patrick Beverley and Kendrick Nunn, and they trade him, let's say, for Bojan Bogdanovic, right? At that point, that's pretty much all of your salary space. So wouldn't it make sense to, if you're not going to re-sign Russell Westbrook, to then trade Russell Westbrook and get some other pieces and kind of just go all in? Because now you basically have Bojan, LeBron, and Anthony Davis with nothing else, and you're putting, minimum pieces around those three and hoping to be a contender. Where if you could take Russ and go get 2 or 3 pieces, well, now maybe you could be a contender this year and next year. It's just kind of a thought of mine. But Rob Pelinka, he's at least doing his due diligence. He's at least working to try to get a deal done. Bojan Bogdanovic is obviously a piece that is very coveted. That would be a nice piece. The Knicks seem to be a real, they seem to be the most, willing to deal with the Lakers. They seem to be the one that's like, hey, we'll make a deal, type thing. So we'll see what happens there. Now, obviously, the Spurs are probably still players. We haven't really heard a lot about Charlotte. I'm interested about that. But Rob Pelinka is at least talking to various teams, which is good. Rob Pelinka is at least doing his due diligence. He's at least trying to find a deal. Jovan Buha said that he believes that a deal will likely get done, a minor deal. So at least some trade is likely to happen. It's just, when does that happen? And can the Lakers continue to stay afloat until then? Because we're still, behind. We're still not even at 500. We haven't hit 500. Our schedule does start lightening up a little bit coming, moving forward. So maybe that'll be our opportunity to go on a nice little run and get caught back up. We're still only 4 games out of a 6 seed, which would be, a locked in playoff spot. So it's not like we're so far removed that it's impossible to catch up, but we got to start winning games. We got to stop losing these close games. We got to start, doing a better job of closing things out, because, we have 3 games in the last 4 that were just close, like Philly, Boston, and then Indiana. Those 3 games, if you win those games, you're 500. If you win those games that you should have won, you're not on the outside looking in. You're on the inside looking out now, and now you're just trying to weather the storm until a trade or 2 or several could be made. So we'll see. According to Jovan Buha, Rob Pelinka does look at this as we're close, we need to make a deal, rather than the opposite. So that's good. And we'll see what happens. We'll see how this all develops. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? What kind of deal do you want to see the Lakers make? Do you think the Lakers make a deal? Do you think it happens soon? Do you think it happens later? However you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. Let me know down in the comments.